everybody. It's Alyce-Kay Rucklehouse from Threshold of Hineni. I'm here to do a little bit more work on our journal. We're making progress. Look at this. Isn't that pretty? We're getting a lot of stuff in there. It's not bound yet, so the pages are still kind of sliding around. But I have a few things that I want to work on today. And one is a pocket for in the front where we can put a card that says this book belongs to, or sometimes people say the story begins here or something. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to say. So this is going to be that pocket. I want to put in another side tuck, and then I also have these two envelopes that I almost forgot about that are in the kit. That's kind of important. They were already printed with lines around them and fold lines, so you know exactly how to do it. I don't think you can see the fold lines and the outlines in the video, but they are there. And this one has a little doily kind of thing imprinted on it too, so that's going to be really pretty. So let's set those aside, and first we're going to do the pocket and the side tuck. Okay, so the pocket, I don't really want to put it here. I like this page just as it is, and I like it kind of reflecting the colors here. I know that would be the traditional place, or this would be traditional. Where did I guess I sewed this whole thing all the way, didn't I? So this is in a pocket. Okay, so I'm going to put it here is what I decided on, and I want to make it not just a simple pocket that you just sew in place, which we could do, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I want to make it one that'll stick out a little bit more so that I can put some other things in there as well. And so I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, so we're going to set this aside for now while we work on that. So the first thing is that we want to just fold not the top edge, and actually I'm going to go ahead and stitch on the top edge first because I know that I want that there. One of the things about stitching on the top of pockets is that I think that it does make it a little sturdier so that it's not as likely to get wrecked when you're putting things in and out. If you don't have a sewing machine, then what I would do is I would fold this just a little bit at the top and glue it. That way you'll just make that top part stronger. Okay, so I did that, and now I'm going to fold along the other three sides just a little bit. Like, I'm not good at estimating, so let me get my ruler. You don't have to do an exact amount. I'm just measuring to give you an idea. It's about between 1/4 and 1/2 of an inch. Okay, so you know, again, don't measure. Don't try to make it that exact amount or anything like that. But that's just to give you an idea that it's not very much. Okay, so I did both sides, and now I'm going to do the bottom. And you know, try to make it as even as you can. Okay, now if I just leave it like that, then, well, I actually did a really good job, but sometimes you end up with like these little corners sticking out here, and just wanting to reduce some bulk too, it just works a lot better if you clip off these corners. So where I'm going to clip, can you see where the fold lines are? I'm going to clip just a little bit inside of that. So I'm actually not just cutting off the corner, but a little bit past that corner as well. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing over here on this side. Just a little bit more than the corner, like that. And see, when we turn them up, you know, then you don't have all that huge amount of bulk there. Okay, and then I'm also going to do the same thing at the top. Just right like that, and right like that. Okay, so that's really easy. And then since I want this to look like it's been sewn in, even though I'm not going to sew it into the journal, I'm going to go ahead and stitch not on this part that's folded under, but next to it. Okay, and again, if you don't want to sew, you don't have to. That's my mantra. I just like to sew, so I sew a lot. Okay, and again, just inside that fold, because what's on the other side of that fold isn't going to show. It's going to be glued down, actually. But I just want this to look sewn all the way around it. I like that. Okay. All right, and then the other question is, do I want any kind of lace or anything that I want to add before I sew it? So let's actually get out that page so we can look at it. Set this aside. We know it's the first page. Okay, so I've got this here. I do feel like it kind of needs a little something. What do we have as far as lace here? We have just this little bit of lace, which is like just barely enough if we wanted to have some go across the top. And I do like that. I like that. So I'm going to have this go across the top. It doesn't quite reach the whole way, but I'm going to center it and it'll be just fine. Okay, so this is some that I coffee dyed and it's a little bit darker on one end than the other. I like that because it kind of looks worn. It looks aged, you know, because when things age, they don't age evenly. They just age. Okay, so see, it even looks maybe a little dirty right there. I like that. I like it a lot. That makes a big difference, doesn't it? Okay, now do I want to go even further and add lace to the bottom, maybe? I don't really think so. Okay, so I'm going to do this. And I may add like a verse or something down here later, but I can come in and do that later. I don't have to do that before I put this pocket in. So I'm going to go ahead and put the pocket in. I'm going to use my glue, which I left open, which was really dumb. Sometimes I do dumb things. Don't we all, right? Okay, and I want to get the glue not quite to the edge because I don't want it to go onto the inside of the pocket. But I do want to make it go all the way to the corners so that it holds it down really nicely. Okay, and this kind of pocket, by just adding those folds, it makes the pocket a little roomier. It's really nice when you've got it like that. Okay, so... And again, I've got it not quite centered because I started out with it centered and moved it over toward the edge because this is like right at the front of the book, and so that's the part that really is going to get underneath the other pages. You'll see what I mean when we bind it. It's kind of hard to explain otherwise. Okay, I just want to make sure that I didn't get any glue sliding out in there, gluing it shut. Nope, that's good. Okay, so this pocket is just a lot roomier than one that we just lay flat on there. Okay, so that was easy, right? Okay, now opposite this, while we've got this out, is where I want to put this. Because in the journal, the page that's opposite that is this. It's the daisy leaf. Okay, so that's going to look really nice. So I'm going to have this corner tuck there, and this is just slightly too long. So I'm going to cut it off. Okay. And I like to round my corners, the ones that are sticking out, just a little bit. I find that that helps things to go in more smoothly, and I think it just looks nicer. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and distress the edges. Okay, so there we go. And I'm not distressing that outside edge because that's just going to be the edge of the book. And I'm thinking about maybe using some of this lace, not on this side, but just on this side where this is. And yes, I really, really like that. Now I could go ahead and cut that and sew it on at the same time. But to be honest, it's harder that way. Not a lot harder, but I'm kind of lazy. And I don't mind having two sets of stitches there. So I'm going to sew that on after I sew this in place. So this, as you can see, it's just a little bit smaller than the page. I cut off a little bit too much, but that's okay. I really don't care. I can sew it just here if I want to, and it'll still work as a good tuck, but I want it to be a little bit snug, more snug, so I'm going to sew it across the top and bottom as well. Okay, so I'm going to do the side first, and then the bottom, and then come back up and do the top. Sometimes I start at the top and I just go around the side and the bottom, but I don't know, for some reason I just feel like I should do the side first. So I am. Isn't that funny? It's just, it's not like fabric that's going to stretch or anything, because, you know, with fabric I probably definitely would do that, but probably definitely, yeah. But with paper it's really not necessary, but that's just what I feel like doing today, so that's what's gonna happen. Okay, and then I want to sew that lace on the edge. This is a little bit of a different lace. It's not as lacy, it's more dense. It's from the Dollar Tree. I noticed that they had the same thing at Walmart for $1.99, but I think it is a bigger roll, and it might be a better deal. It's hard to say. But this I got at the Dollar Tree around Easter time. They had it with all their Easter stuff, so I don't know if they carry it all the time, or I don't get to the Dollar Tree as much as I would like. I tend to go in thinking I'm going to get 3 or 4 things, and I come out with $40 worth of stuff, so I don't get encouraged to go there very often. Okay, so that's that. And again, I might put a Bible verse or something on there. Not sure. I will probably, if I do that, I'll probably do it off camera, because you've already seen how I do that. You don't really need to watch that again. Okay. So there we go. So this is the pocket right there. Okay, that looks good. I'm going to have my card in there that says this belongs to, or something like that. And then see how this goes with that really nicely. I like that. Those two together, I think it's really pretty. Okay, and then that gives us the lace at the end here. I really like the lace against this. Wow, maybe I should consider it for here. And that might help strengthen that page too. You know what? I think I'm going to do that. I had not planned to, but I do think that would strengthen the page, because this is already getting a little bent up. So I think that would just be a good idea. And I think it just looks really pretty, that color with that. Yeah. Okay, so let's do that too. See, a lot of this, I mean, I don't know if other people really plan things ahead of time. I tend to just do it as I go, especially when I'm doing it on my own. I do plan a little bit more when I'm going to be doing things on camera. I'm trying to get into the habit of kind of getting things out, and maybe distressing things ahead of time and stuff, so that you don't have to watch all that. But even then, I'm still thinking on my feet quite a bit, and you're having to watch quite a bit, but that's okay. It's good for you to see the process. I know that when I watched videos, especially when I was new, but even now, I enjoy seeing the process that people go through. And if it's something that I really already know completely and I don't feel like I want to sit there and watch it, I just have the video going while I'm working on my own journal, and I just watch what I need to watch. So then I feel like I'm crafting with somebody. I like that a lot. I really like that lace with that. Okay, that makes a big difference, doesn't it? Okay, so sometimes you just have these happy accidents that you didn't know, you didn't plan on, but that looks beautiful. Okay, so then the other thing that I want to work on today is these envelopes that came with the kit. So we're going to do the other one first, the one that's just plain. These are both the same, except that this one has a doily imprinted on it. Okay, and so what we're going to do, I printed on the inside as well. This one I printed with one of Melody's Echo Die pages, and this one I printed with some papyrus that I got from either Unsplash or Pixabay. And so what we're going to do is we're going to fold on these lines. And if you need to fold it, we might need to. Just fold it here on the lines. This isn't the direction we're going to go in, but I can't see the lines otherwise. So I'm folding it like this, and then I'll just turn it the other way and fold it the right direction. Okay, and this is to make an envelope. And then we have these flaps that are easier to see where you're supposed to fold, because that's where the other stuff ends. Okay, and you want to make it really, I mean, like I use my fingernails. Some people have a bone folder that they use to make their creases. That seems to work really nicely. Sometimes I use a ruler if I'm doing a bunch of pages. Okay, so it's going to go like that, and then we've got the top of the envelope, which is going to fold down like so. Okay, so it looks like that. Okay, now the question is, do we want to add anything to it, like lace or something? I might, now that I've found this lace and discovered how pretty it looks on stuff, I might go ahead and just add that. That would be really pretty along the edges of the flap, wouldn't it? I think that'd be really nice. Okay, so I'm gonna cut that. I'm gonna cut it a little bit longer because I'm gonna have to do something there at the curve, and I'm not sure how much of the lace that's going to take up. Okay, I mean, it just kind of curves a little bit there. Not quite sure how to handle that. I guess what I'm going to have to do is kind of make some pleats. Okay, like that. And like that, I guess. Something like that. Okay, and I'll make those pleats as I sew it, and then I'll show you afterwards how I did it. Okay, so let me just take this all apart because I don't want to sew anything closed. Okay, and which is the right side of this? It doesn't really look like there's a right side. Okay, and I do want to sew it on the outside of the flap, not underneath it. Okay, I'm going past just a little bit because I can trim it off. I want to make sure that I'm going to have enough for the angle there. And I'm going to use a zigzag still, but I'm going to sew kind of slowly. I'm going to slow this down just a little bit. This doesn't have a pedal. It does have a pedal that you can use, but you have the option of not using a pedal. And that was a little hard to get used to, I will admit, but I like it. I really do. I like it a lot. Okay, so maybe just one pleat. Yeah, one pleat I think is going to be enough. If I can get that to hold. How am I going to get that to hold? Okay, let's see if I can do this without sewing on top of my finger. So you push a button to get it to go, and then you push a button, push the same button to stop it. And you can adjust the speed by a little, I don't know if you can see that right there, the little lever. So I love this sewing machine. It is so cool. And if you've never sewn, I do think that this would be easier than using a pedal. You know, it's for those of us who are used to a pedal, it's a little tough getting used to, but really it didn't take me that long to get used to, and I really, really like not having a pedal. It also makes it more portable, I think, when you don't have a pedal. Okay, so I'm actually going to end up with a couple of pleats there. This is hard because with fabric you could pin it, but you can't really do that with paper. You would leave holes where you don't want holes. So, let's see if I can do this. and get it to turn out right. We'll see. We'll see. You might not want to do this if I can't get it to come out right. Or you might be better at doing it, and then you can tell me how to do it. Okay. I'm not an expert by any means. Part of the reason why I'm trying to keep this really simple and make it for beginners is because I'm still kind of a beginner. I just started, oops, that didn't sew. Didn't connect. I just started making junk journals in December. I had just published a journal for the year, a yearly journal, and I wanted to see where my video came up on YouTube. You know, if it was like nobody's going to see it or what. And when I put in journal, I got junk journals, and I thought, what on earth is a junk journal? And so I watched a couple of videos. I think the first one I watched was by I'm a Cool Mom. And then I watched a couple more, and I was like, oh my word, these are the best things ever. And I could immediately see just how wonderful it would be for spiritual journaling and stuff like that. I don't really want the thread in the middle. Okay, that turned out okay. Let me just, I think if I turn that thread underneath, I mean that piece of the lace underneath like the other one is, and just sew it under there, that would look better than trimming it off. So let me do that really quick. Yeah, so I just fell in love with it, and I'm a Cool Mom had a tutorial for making one with envelopes that was really, really simple. I'll try to remember to link it below. And so that was the first one that I did, and it had, I don't know, maybe 10 pages or so because of the envelopes. And then I made one that was a little bit bigger. I think it was based on a manila envelope, a small manila envelope. And then after that, I made one that just had blank pages, but I learned to make like the hardcover. I kind of figured out how to make the hardcover for it. And, you know, just from there, I've watched a lot of really good tutorials. You guys, there are so many good tutorials out there. Really take advantage of those. I have my favorites, my favorite people, and you'll develop your own list of who you like the most. You know, and then you're always discovering ones that you hadn't seen before. Like I just, I was in a different Facebook group, and someone recommended that I check out Melody's group as well as the one that I was in. She wasn't trying to get me away from that one or anything. And I really liked what Melody was doing because she's very organized, and she just really likes to teach, and that's my heart too. And so I just really resonate with somebody who's like that and who's like really organized and methodical and everything. That's how she is. I don't want to throw that away. I'm going to keep it. Actually, let me put it in my little tiny scrap thing over here. Okay, so we've got that, and I'm not going to distress these edges because I don't really want to draw attention to those. When I'm finished making the envelope, then I'll distress the outside edges. Although actually, let's go ahead and distress that one inside edge before we get this all closed up. Where's my inker thingy? Oh no, oh no. Oh, okay. Stop everything. There we go. Shut everything down and lock the doors. Don't let somebody take off with it. All right, there's my... I mean, you guys, I use this for like hours a day probably. I could not manage without it. They're not expensive. And you get like at least 2 at a time. Sometimes, I mean, there's sets that have a lot more. I don't think that there's any that have just one. Okay, so I want that like that. That's good. Okay, and then is there anything else that I want to do before I glue? I don't think so. I'm probably going to do some more on here, but let's go ahead and glue the edges. Okay, so where we're going to glue is along this edge and just a little bit here, okay? So that it'll stick to that. Oh, I left it open again. It's not very smart, is it? Okay, so I'm just going along there, not along the top because you don't want to glue it closed. I almost did that. Just a little bit along the top to get that, the edge of that flap, but not along the whole top because then you'll glue your envelope closed. I can just see myself doing that. And then I get one of my cosmetic sponges. Okay, the reason I use cosmetic sponges, you guys, at first I used tissues and all they do is fall apart and stick to it and stick to your fingers and you have like a gigantic, gigantic mess. And I tried paper towels and that worked okay, but not great. And then I found these cosmetic pads and they just work really, really well. Okay, so what do I want here? Do I want a button? A button sounds really good. I'm kind of also leaning towards using some of my little scraps. Maybe I should close this glue. I'm thinking of maybe using a little bit of my scrap thread here just to add some color to it. Like wad it up and put it underneath it or something. Like that. Underneath the button. I don't know, we'll see what kind of button we end up with. So my husband, I think I told you, makes sweaters, and so he has like so many millions of buttons. Okay, so there's green, which I think if it was by itself just with the lace is okay, but it does look better with that thread under it, although I might do a bigger wad. So that's okay. Let's see about something wooden and darker. Nope, I don't think we want to go darker. How about lighter? No, not really. How about more contrasting? That's okay. How about the green? I think I like the green better. Okay, so do I want a bigger green one? I have the exact same thing in a bigger one. I think I like the little one better. Yep, I think I like the little one. I tend to be a little bit more simple. I've done some where I've done just a lot of lace and all kinds of stuff. I think most junk journalers tend to put a lot of embellishment on, and I like to just keep mine a little bit more simple. So, you know, it's like everybody has their own style. And I've seen some actually that are even more simple than mine, you know, where maybe they just have all blank pages, you know, but the pages are all like different, you know, like from a kit or something, or, you know, just different designs or something. But they don't put like pockets or anything like that on it, you know, so there's a really wide range of what people do as far as junk journals. Okay, so that's, I formed it so it's almost kind of like a bow, but not really. Okay, so like that. Does that look good? Since I have such a big wad of thread, I think that the glue probably would seep through from the top, but let's just make sure by putting some on the envelope itself and getting it down on there. In fact, I'm going to just twist this once to make it just a little bit more like a bow. So it's not really like a bow. It still really looks like just a wad of thread, and it's pretty wild. Now, which side do I want for the button? I think that's supposed to be the top. It's got like kind of a ridge to it, but I like this rounded side better. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of glue on here. This glue holds really, really well. Now it'll come through the holes and it'll look funny right now, but it'll dry clear. So you'll not see that. And I'm just gonna wipe that off so I don't end up with a big thing. Ooh, the glue went right through. Oh, it went through the lace. I was like, how'd that get through there? Okay, so I'm going to push it down again just to get it pushed down really well, but I don't want it to glue shut because then what's the point of an envelope, right? Okay, so that's cute. And again, I might put a Bible verse or something on it. I'm not sure. We'll see, but I really like that lace on it. I wish I'd been using that lace from the beginning. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry before I distress the edges. Let's go ahead and work on this one. I like this pink kind of papyrus stuff. I can't remember if it was pink when I found it or if I made it pink. I like to change colors of things on Google Docs. I think that's just a lot of fun, and I probably overdo it because it's it's like a new toy for me. I just recently discovered that you could do that, and so I'm just having a great deal of fun with that. Okay, so we've got that pushed here, and this one here. I want to bring this to the outside. Okay. And then we've got our flap that has our little doily thing on it. And I'm trying to decide exactly what I want to do with that because I don't want to cover it up. If I put lace on it, I'm going to lose that. But I do feel like the edge needs something. We could just distress it. Let's try distressing it. Because if we end up putting lace or something on it, it's just going to cover up the distressing anyway. So let's do that. I'm not sure where we are time-wise. If this gets to 30 minutes, it may cut off